Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 14th March 2020. Day is Saturday, and this is the reason why we have got only 4 articles on our table today. First one is going to be People Over Profit. Very easy to understand editorial. It's about public gathering, why we need to avoid this sort of public gatherings like sports events and other things because of this coronavirus. Then this one, Dominion Over Territory. It is about Lieutenant Governor versus Chief Minister. It's pertaining to Puducherry, right? The political situation of Puducherry and the latest verdict of Madras High Court. Then we are going to talk about this one. It's about Indian Diaspora, Namaste Trump event, Howdy Modi event, and other this sort of events. And we are going to talk about diplomacy, diaspora, and other important things. The last one is going to be Temples of Critical Thinking and Debate. Dear friends, this one is about top 150 universities of the world. And to be more precise, we are going to see what are the things, what are the practices or culture that we find in top 10 universities of the world, and what are the things that are missing in our university, or what are the things that are there in our universities and institutions, and because of this sort of things, we don't find ourselves or our universities on this top 150 list. So let's crack on. Before that, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses. They are designed by best faculties of our country, and with the help of our pen drive and tablet courses, there are thousands of students out there. They have cracked various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from StudyIQ.com. If you have any further question, queries, doubts regarding it, feel free and give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Dear friends, to download the PDF of today's lecture, do follow me or do join my Telegram channel. You can get in touch with me if you want to send your greetings or messages or anything. Then use this FB platform. And do share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So this one is going to be a very easy to understand article. Of course, we know that coronavirus is spreading like a wildfire. It's a big thing, and I'm not sure whether it has touched its a tipping point, but more than 100 countries are affected by this coronavirus, and of course the severity is different in various different countries. Like, for example, in our country, we have some 82, 83 cases, right? In today's news item, we find that one more person has passed away because of this coronavirus. But if we look at the countries like Iran, I asked you this question yesterday, isn't it? We have countries like Iran, you have this South Korea, and all these countries are highly affected. After China, these are the nations that are highly affected by this coronavirus, and so many people have passed away in these countries. So, and then you have other countries where you have 1 or 2 cases only. So it's a mixed bag, I would say, right? But one thing that is quite logical and it's easy to understand it is that we should avoid public contact as much as possible, right? For those people who have to travel, for those people who have to go from home to their workplace, right? We don't have that many options. We have to take necessary precautions like looking after your health, taking medication if required, eating those sort of things that will boost your immune system, making sure that you wash your hands, you carry a sanitizer with you. So these are the things that you can do, right, to protect yourselves and to protect your loved ones from this infection. But we have to also make sure that we are not, we don't push ourselves into a sort of hyper panic situation. We have to take things very positively here. But one thing is for sure that we should delay all these sports and celebrations, sports events, or if there is any sort of religious celebrations, then if possible, we should delay these events. And I would say it's not just about the government's order, it's also about people's understanding that will play a major role. And yesterday we were talking about this thing, isn't it, that people's cooperation is one of the most important thing when it comes to fighting this sort of viruses and diseases and other sort of things. So this editorial is particularly about cricket, that sports ministry is of course going to tell BCCI to delay this event. And in today's news item we find this thing as well, that BCCI has postponed this IPL matches and other one-day international cricket matches. because of this coronavirus. Because just imagine if you have like 40,000 or maybe 10,000-15,000 people coming at one spot, and chances of infection and this coronavirus hitting a tipping point increases. So we should avoid all this sort of things. Moving on to next item, dominion over territory. This one is about Puducherry. It's about the verdict of a division bench of Madras High Court on the respective roles of the elected regime in Puducherry and the administrator appointed by the president. As we all know that we have two union territories in our country. Both these union territories are unique, and both are unique, or they are different from other union territories, and they are different from each other as well. I'm going to take you through both of them. I'm just going to give you a brief, and I'm going to take you through map of Puducherry as well. But first of all, let me tell you the name of the first one is Delhi. Delhi is a union territory where you have lieutenant governor and you have chief minister as well. You have one elected regime as well as you have appointed regime, right? We have both these things. So recently elections took place in this Delhi, and you know that Arvind Kejriwal his government is re-elected by the people, and you have a lieutenant governor who is appointed by a president. Now we need this thing or this setup in Delhi because Delhi, is our national capital. You have embassies over there. It's a big city. You have embassies over there. And you have this Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister's house, and President's house, and there are so many important locations and important people as well as this sort of offices in Delhi. So we need a proper central hold as well on this thing, as well as because we have this system over there in Delhi. We have this elected government as well, so that people can vote and choose their leaders. So we have this mixed thing over there. So best thing is that they work in unison with each other. They work with each other. They are from different political backgrounds. Of course, we know that the central government is BJP. This chief minister or this AAP government is ruling the Delhi government or looking after the Delhi. So clashes are going to be natural. It's very logical to understand that they're not going to be on the same page all the time. But there are a few things like a constitution will bring them on one page. So this Delhi is a bit different. Then we have Puducherry. Right, Puducherry is different from other union territories. The most interesting thing about Puducherry is that, as you can see here, the headquarter of Puducherry is here, Puducherry. But this portion, this Yanam, then you have Karaikal, you have Mahe, this three other locations are also part of Puducherry. And Puducherry is only union territory. A portion of it is sharing its border with the Bay of Bengal, and the other portion, this Mahe portion, is sharing its border with Arabian Sea. So it's very interesting. You can find a question. There can be a question like, name the union territory that is sharing its border with both Bay of Bengal as well as Arabian Sea, and the answer is, of course, Puducherry. I have a question for you guys. Can you give me the name of all the union territories that we have in our country? Of course, we have Delhi and Puducherry, but I want you to make a proper list starting from the north. So the most northern will be number 1, then number 2. In the same way, you have to arrange all union territories. So give me the name in the comment section. This is your question of the day. I'm going to ask you one more question later on. Now the thing is, the bench has done well to say that its role is not to lay down who has residual control, whether it is the Council of Ministers or Administrator, but to highlight the existing legal framework under which their powers are defined. Now the bench has set aside, back in 2019, there was a single judge order which said that Lieutenant Governor should not interfere in the day-to-day administration of Puducherry. Let the Chief Minister or let the elected government look after the day-to-day administration. But this order of 2019 is set aside by this Madras High Court's latest bench, and this is a shot in the arm for Lieutenant Governor Kiran Bedi. Now, interesting facet of the case is that both last year's judgment of Justice R. Mahadevan and the one overruling it by a bench comprising of Chief Justice A.P. Sahi and Justice Subramaniam Prasad rely on the exposition of the law by the Supreme Court in relation to the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Supreme Court means this. The reason why I explained you the situation of Delhi is because this is not the first time. Many a times in the past as well, we have seen this clash going on between Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and Chief Minister of Delhi. So Supreme Court took a stand on this situation, and the latest judgment of this Madras High Court bench is based on Supreme Court's stand when it comes to this clash between LG and CM. So the main ground on which the single judge's verdict has been set aside is that it was based on an inappropriate parallel sought to be drawn between union territory and state. Union territory and states, they are different from each other, of course, right? Union territory are basically part of, or these territories are part of a central government. But we have these two union territories. They have election process as well, so that makes them a bit more different from other union territories. And because you have this elected government, so you have this argument as well, like you have a sort of setup which is half a state-like setup and half union territory sort of setup. And this half is the main reason. This 50-50 is one of the main reasons why we find clashes taking place, because Lieutenant Governor wants to emphasize that he or she is the most powerful. The Chief Minister would like to emphasize that he or she is most powerful because they are elected. Lieutenant Government would argue that he or she is appointed by the President, and this is a union territory, so he or she will have upper hand and things like that. But the main thing that we have to understand, and that's what Apex Court has emphasized, is that constitutional morality and constitutional trust among high dignitaries is one of the most important thing. And this people are mature people, they are well experienced people, right? So it is important that they work for the bigger good, for the people of Puducherry or people of that particular union territory, may it be Delhi, and they must work in unison as far as possible. And in the event of an unresolved difference of opinion, the LG should refer it to the President for a decision. Now, one more important thing, that the single judge bench of 2019 was not wrong in holding that the administrator is bound by the aid and advise clause. Like if the Chief Minister and his or her Council of Ministers are advising Lieutenant Governor, then he or she should consider that thing. And of course, the Lieutenant Governor has this power to refer any matter to the President, but this any matter should not be taken as every matter, right? Only those things which fits, if they think rationally and logically that this is a thing that requires President's second look or President's opinion, then only those items should be referred to President, or else they can work in unison, and it's not that big deal anyway, isn't it? So they should, I believe, I strongly, this is my personal opinion, that with every problem they face in this union territories, like say for example Puducherry, this brings with it an opportunity for both Lieutenant Governor as well as Chief Minister to prove their mettle, and they should work with each other in unison for the people. So it's an opportunity rather than a sort of a threat for their powers. So moving on to next item, it's about the ambit and the limits of diaspora diplomacy. Now, joint rallies, we know that we had two rallies. When I'm saying two, I mean to say I'm talking about rallies between USA and India, particularly Mr. Trump and Mr. Modi. So it all started with Howdy Modi. Howdy Modi was held in Houston, USA. And recently we had this Namaste Trump, isn't it? This was a big event in our country. Two things that are good for Mr. Modi and two things that are good for Mr. Trump in both these events. I'll give you Modi's example and then you'll understand Trump's benefits as well. So Mr. Modi was in USA, he was accompanied by Mr. Trump, and he addressed NRIs over there. So this created a sort of positive global image for Mr. Modi back home as well. It created a positive image for Mr. Modi that he is a global leader and he is, well respected in US and things like that. And same thing happened with Mr. Trump as well. So you remember that in this meeting or this Howdy Modi, he talked about Trump Sarkar aur ek baar, and recently Mr. Trump also said when he was here in Ahmedabad, he said that Indian Americans are truly spectacular people. So why he's saying this thing is because elections are not that far now. And Indian diaspora are, of course, a soft power for our country, but they are also considered as fully transferable political vote bank. Now, fully transferable political vote bank, they basically means that they can change the figures, they can change the game. Their votes can change the game, and they are in big quantity, of course. But there are a few things that we have to understand here. Now, many a times what we have observed is that government has frequently blurred the line between Indian expatriates and persons of Indian origin. There is a big difference in it. A person who is an Indian, say for example, or let me put it this way, an Indian was migrated to USA, right? Let's say when he was 21, he migrated to USA. From now, last 20 years, he is living in USA. So that person, we can call him an Indian expatriate. But a person of Indian origin is a bit different, right? I'll give you, if you go back in the history of British Raj, if you understand it very well, then you would be aware about this thing that there are so many at that point of time, Indian people were taken to various different countries. Like we have countries like Fiji in Pacific Ocean, which is north of Australia. You find this country called Fiji. Then you have so many other African countries like Mauritius is there, Suriname. Then you have this Guyana and other countries of South America where you find Indian people. And interesting thing is most of them are, it's not most of them, but we find many Indians, right, or PIOs, not Indians to be precise, PIOs, right, they are becoming presidents and prime ministers. So many times Indian government has blurred the difference between, and it's okay, right, means we can, many a times we take pride that basically they are Indians, but in reality, they are not Indians, right? They are PIOs. Of course, their fathers or grandfathers, their parents or maybe grandparents were born here in India. But these people are different from us. When I'm saying different, I mean no disrespect, right? I have a proper explanation for it as well. So hold this thought in your mind for time being, and at the end of this discussion, I will tell you what's the main difference and why they are a bit different. Now, India has the world's largest diaspora, and this is a very interesting fact. Global Migration Report 2020. And if we follow this, or if we go through this fact, then we find that the world's largest diaspora, India has the world's largest diaspora, about 17.5 million people, which is not a small amount. We are talking about what? 1 crore 75 lakh people. And India receives the highest remittance as well, right, $78.6 billion in 1 year. So this is a big amount. This is more than what we get from foreign direct investment. Members of diaspora are often seen as more successful, and this makes them a bit more influential as well. So when Mr. Modi will go there in USA, or when he was there and when he was addressing NRIs, so his respect back home is also increased. Now, as far as this transferability of vote is concerned, it is not always right. Means it's not that if Mr. Trump is coming to India and if he is addressing Indian people, then Indians living in USA or PIOs will feel a soft corner for Mr. Modi. That's not always right, because if we go back in the past, then we find that Mr. Modi addressed Indians in Israel in the past as well. Political leaders have addressed Indians in UK, for example, and David Cameron was trying to make the most out of it, but he was after 6-7 months he has to resign. Israel's elections, if you go through it, then there was a sort of tie. So it's not that Indians can change, because our community isn't that large, right? They look big, they look large, but they are not that many. So if you go in USA, then it's not like their votes will. Of course, every vote matters, but it's not that if you have their vote, then you can win the whole election. It will add a little bit of weight. It's not going to change everything, or it's not going to be that drastic. So this is also a very important point. Now, the second thing is that politically active members of Indian diaspora doesn't necessarily support the Indian government's action, because they are judging, means now they are living abroad, they are living in a developed country, for example UK or USA. So their living standard is different from what we have here in our country, and they are going to compare USA's system with India. So of course they are not going to be that satisfied with the government. So we have to understand this thing as well. I'm not saying that always they will be negative. Many people will feel good as well, that things were very bad when they left India, but now things have improved. Maybe, And here it comes that this statement of Jawaharlal Nehru back in 1957 in Lok Sabha, he said that, I'm going to be very brief here, that there may be sentimental concerns, like those Indians who have left Indian nationality and they have accepted other nations' nationality. It's good for them, right? If it's their decision, right? But politically, now once they are not Indian nationals, right? Politically, India has nothing to do with them. Sentiments are there, but politically we are not associated with them. So this is the reason why I was telling you, hold this thought in your mind. These PIOs, right? These people are, of course, their parents were Indians, but now they are British citizens or USA citizens. So they are a bit different, and they are politically not connected with our country. Sentiments wise, yes. And one more thing, many communities, many Indians, they have settled in various different countries, and after a very long period of time, they are now part of, they have assimilated in that country and that society. And now when we are declaring them Indians, so we don't want to create a situation where they are seen as outsiders or immigrants, right? This is again dangerous thing. Moving on to next item, temples of critical thinking and debate. Very interesting one. Quacquarelli Simons QS report is out, and as we can see, not even a single Indian university features in the QS ranking of the world's top 150 in overall parameters. When it comes to respective disciplines, our universities have done well in science, technology and business studies, right? In a few of them, Indian institutions have improved with 27 departments or school placed in top 100. But when it comes to overall ranking, we are far behind. Indian Institute of Technology, IITs of IIT of Bombay and Delhi. Bombay is at 152. Delhi is at 182 rank. IIS, that is Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, is at 184th position. So why we are not at part of this top 150 universities? There are various different reasons behind it. If you go through this overall top 10 universities, then you find that 5 are American. MIT, that is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Stanford, Harvard, Caltech and Chicago. British universities, you have Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, Imperial, and you have one Swiss university, that is ETH Zurich. Now all these 5 American names in the list are private, right? So they are going to be a bit different. But British and Swiss institutions are public universities. But the thing is, they are independent. They have significant autonomy from governmental control over decades, and they enjoy absolute freedom. No interference in day-to-day operation of these universities. Political parties, they don't interfere with management, and they have been major centers of innovation in teaching and research because of their independence. You find ideological pluralism in this university. You find a mix of right, left and center ideology in faculties and students. Faculties and students, they are allowed to have a debate, disagreement, they are allowed to have dissent, right? But this will not, if you are not agreeing with your professor, for example, on a particular thought, or may it be political, economical, social, cultural and scientific, then you won't be penalized. It's not like you are going to get less mark or you'll be rusticated. No. Open debate is something that is truly there, right? It is in the culture of these universities, and they attract top talent as well. They retain and they attract top talent. The way they select professors is very, you have to go through a very rigorous procedure. Same thing applies with students as well. It's not like FIFO method, that is first in first out. The first person to apply for admission and the first person to pay the fee is not going to get admission. Admission will also be based on your merit and your your how bright you are, how meritorious you are. All these things, all these parameters will matter if to get an admission in this universities. So that's why these universities are at the top of this table. And big universities also inculcate critical thinking, debating and writing abilities in their students. They encourage students to look at issue through interdisciplinary lenses and to challenge their own professor. This type of interactive pedagogy basically means teaching produces champion graduates who have a reputation for cutting edge skills and knowledge in the job market. And top universities are also super smart financial managers. They get funds from government, but at the same time they get funds from their alumni as well. Alumni are those students who are pass outs of these universities. And look at here, by 2019 the total endowment of Harvard was $40 billion, which is made up over 13,000 individual funds. And Anglo-American, British and American universities, they have experiences, not just new experience, but means they have these institutions are running from ages, right, from 50, 70, 100, 200 years. So they have this culture, they have experience, they have learned from time as well. They have inculcated innovations and change and so many things. So it's not that we cannot compete them. It's not like because they are this old and grand institutions, no one can compete them. We have this contender called China. China is doing very well. China has invested huge amount of resources in universities, and that's the reason why you find Chinese universities are at various different ranks, 16, 22, 40, 54. This is not bad. This is a miraculous leap forward. But China is also infamous for government interference, isn't it? But India is a democracy, and if we can get rid of this politics, right? Campus politics is very bad in our country, and if we can get rid of all these things, and if we can have a genuinely independent environment in our universities, then from once we have that thing, then we can that I would call the first step. From there we can head towards success. When I say success, I mean to say this sort of success where we find ourselves in the top list. So that's basically everything in today's discussion, dear friends. News items, as you can see on your screen. Please download the PDF and go through this news items. The most important one I would say is, when I say most important, I mean to say that you must know details about this Vivad Se Vishwas bill. You can find easily one question in your upcoming prelims on Vivad Se Vishwas bill. And that's basically everything, right? I'll see you with daily financial news analysis. And tomorrow is Sunday, so no lectures tomorrow. Now, directly after daily financial news analysis, I will see you directly on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. God bless you all. Jai Hind.